All right. Well, we've got the buffalo on the screen here, so that's kind of our theme for today's discussion. I'm going to replace that here with uh, the panelist information. So everybody I know was excited for the four broker real estate leaders in our valley here that we were able to get to join us today and talk a little bit about charging the storm. You know, how do we win in this market? So I just want to say thank you. A lot of gratitude for the four of you. Kit, you and I have known each other for quite a while now. I mean, I think our careers have kind of been on the kind of same timing. At least I was telling somebody the other day, I really admire how you've gone through kind of how you started with CBH and a production builder to where you're at now and watching that happen. It's been awesome. So thanks for being here. Aaron Doughty with Silvercreek. Aaron and I've gotten to know each other pretty darn well here over the last 18 months. A lot of admiration and really appreciate our relationship and friendship, and really appreciate you being here. Colby, fairly new to the relationship with Colby, but man, it's been awesome getting to know Colby. A lot of respect for what he's built with his brokerage. A lot of great agents there, and really appreciate you, Colby, being on today. And then similar with Jeff Sweet, a lot of great things that I've heard about Jeff, just getting to know each other, and really excited to have Jeff on today as well. So some great panelists. We're going to talk about charging the storm. So I always start with gratitude. Thank you to all you for being here, all the panelists and everybody that's joining us. I'm still trying to hit admit to allow all these folks in here, so sorry. But I wanted to tell the story of the buffalo versus the cow. So I think it's very fitting right now. I do feel that it's a great analogy for where we are. We're in a storm right now. We're in a market that's very much different than it was a year or in the last couple of years, and it's very different than I think really any market that we've seen, at least myself, in 18 years in the business. I guess for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm JJ Astorquia with One Trust Home Loans. Our company will soon be transitioning to a new company called Bluebird Home Loans, and so we're excited about that. It is a joint venture with our current company, so we're not. It's not news that we're leaving. They know all about it, and we've been working on it for about 18 months now. So, so what is the cow versus the buffalo analogy? So on the storms, when the storm's coming in on the plains, in the book that it's called "Win in the Dark" by Josh Medcalf. But basically, when the storm's coming from this side, the cow tends to turn and run away from the storm, right? So what happens to the cow is that the storm will catch up with the cow, and the cow will be in the storm for much longer and may not make it, right? If the storm's really bad, it might freeze and not make it and perish, right? But what happens with the buffalo is it turns and runs into the storm. So it's getting into the storm sooner, it's getting out of the storm sooner, right? So the idea here is we all want to be the buffalo. We want to make sure we're running into the storm head first, charging in there. How do we win in this market? So that's the story. I know Jeff was like, where did that come from? A lot of people seem to really like that story right now, and I think it's very fitting for kind of where we're at. So I guess I'll just start, and maybe we'll have ladies go first, and just kind of the first question is, Kit, I guess, what are you grateful for in this market, or what's our biggest opportunity in what we're doing right now?
Well, thanks, JJ, and thanks for having me. So when I was looking at this question, I thought, the grateful part is actually probably the easiest part. At least for me, I am incredibly grateful for loyal people in my life. My assistant Whitney, who's actually on here today, a number of my agents, and my fellow professionals that are just here and present in this market. I think that it's it's something that I very much appreciate and consider myself an incredibly loyal person. And so I think that stuff starts to come to light when the market gets a little tricky. So I think that was the number one thing that came to my mind. And then, of course, I think the obvious piece is the fact that it's a little bit of a healthier market in terms of our buyers having opportunity right now. That has been a little diminished in the last however many years. And then, I think the last thing I was really grateful for is just good professionals. I think that if you've been around, this is my 20th year in the business, which is really aging myself. And, the markets ebb and flow, and they always have. And we've been through tough markets before. And we've been through exciting, fun, crazy markets. And I think professionalism just explodes during this time. You see the extreme differences when the market gets trickier. But I think in terms of opportunity, the nicest thing, at least for me personally, especially from a brokerage perspective, I feel like for the first time in a long time, I have time to do some of the things that have been on that to-do list for a long time. Really refocusing on the business opportunities and kind of get back to basics. Try some new things at the same time, look outside the box. I think sometimes it's so easy being busy that you forget to take a step back and look at it from a 50,000 foot level. And I feel like an adjusting market, and whatever the adjustment is, sometimes can give you that opportunity. And so I'm actually kind of excited about this market. My agents think I'm crazy. I know they think I'm crazy. And I know all of them that have heard me say this before, but I actually kind of look forward to this. I think the cream rises to the top in this kind of market. And I like hanging with the cream, so.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. Back to the basics. I think we'll talk quite a bit about that today. How about you, Aaron?
What the question is, gratitude. What am I grateful for?
Gratitude, and just kind of what you see as maybe the biggest opportunity, or what you're seeing as things to be grateful for in this market.
First off, I'm grateful that the women in my household got their Taylor Swift tickets. So life's good. I don't have to hear about that anymore. So that's a good thing. But I echo what Kit has said. I think this is just a great opportunity. Whenever there's a shift, there's opportunity. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and that said that more millionaires are created during times of recession than bull markets. And I thought that was incredibly, poignant right now, especially with our market. There is a lot of opportunity. Silvercreek was born in a recession, and I think, there's opportunity wherever you look to really take advantage of that. And I think all of us said during the last go around, boy, if this ever happens again, I'm going to be ready and willing and able to capture and take advantage of what's going on. And so I do think there's great time for growth and personal development, especially in this market.
Yeah, awesome. I have been hearing a lot about the Taylor Swift debacle. So and that was happening in my household too, for my wife and her friends that were trying to get on there and get tickets. Let's move on to Colby. How's it going, Colby?
JJ, doing great, my friend. Yeah, no, this is actually my second time on a panel with Kit, so super excited to be able to piggyback off of her again. And both Kit and Aaron, similar experiences, I guess, on my end, where in a market like what 2008 was, and I think we'll obviously go into this, but this isn't 2008, but there are some things that in a market like what we're in right now, where you can really stand out. And when times get tough and things start to shift like they have been, is the time where people can really make a name for themselves and really do things that are going to set yourself apart, make really your brand and who you are, build more referrals, build more relationships, do so much more instead of just being another agent out there in this market. The biggest names are made in a market like what we're in right now. And you see the ones I love, Kit's analogy is the cream rises to the top, because it's so true. It's like you've got agents who maybe won't navigate the right way in this market. They'll keep doing things the same way, and you have to really know how to adapt to whatever market you're in. And I love that we're going to be able to talk about that today, because there really are so many great things that people can do in a market like this. But instead of just being another agent out there trudging water and in a market that's hot, in a hot market, it's so easy. There's challenges that present themselves in a hot market. We all experience that, but there's challenges in this new market that a lot of us will be able to build our businesses, build our careers, and build a strong foundation during this time, like what Aaron said, with Silvercreek. Just building that strong foundation in that core is an opportunity that we all have right now.
Excellent. Awesome. All right, Jeff, we're not going to make you go last every time. Don't worry. I'm going to.
No worries. I took all the good answers.
What are you grateful for? What do you think the opportunities are?
Well, yeah, first I'd like to say I'm very grateful for being honored to get put on the panel with some great people. I mean, I've known Aaron for years, great guy. Colby, I've known for years, great guy. Kit, first time kind of being introduced to you, so it's nice to kind of rub some shoulders there and get to hear from you. Obviously, we're headed into a new market. I would say, the thing I'm grateful for is the opportunity for an individual agent to kind of stand out, right? We're always preaching to our agents, hey, you need to find a niche, you need to find a way to stand out, to stand out against your competitors. And right now, if you have good discipline and consistency is the key. You can really stand out and make a name for yourself. The last few years, we've had tons of agents in the marketplace all over. It's been hard to really win. So I think right now, more than ever, we have an opportunity for the individual agent to kind of stand out. So that would be my 2 cents on it.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I'm going to go back to Colby, because Colby kind of mentioned a little bit about what this next question is. I mean, I've been hearing a lot, this is 2008 all over again, right? And I just want to get each one of you to kind of talk a little bit about, is this 2008 or are there any similarities? What are the differences? Kind of what you're seeing from that standpoint.
Oh yeah, I mean, there definitely are some comparisons that can be made, definitely, and I think that's what too many people are doing, is just saying, this is going to be another 2008 and the market's going to crash, and just expecting that, or hoping, buyers that are hoping for that to happen, of course, because every buyer's like, who would love to buy an $80,000 house again, that's brand new construction. That's, the kind of opportunities that we had before was, brand new house, 80 grand, you can buy right now. And, all buyers would love that. But, the truth of the matter is, inventory levels, supply and demand is a huge control over our market as a whole, and what prices end up doing. And I watch inventory levels very closely, and we're nowhere near the inventory levels that we were in 2008. And what's causing this market to shift like it has is a completely different cause. So there's a cause and effect. And, back then, loans were being issued, this, Gigi, loans were being issued where debt to income ratios were a lot higher. And now, there's still a lot of control over who's getting financing to where they can afford the house they're buying with the job they have. And so we're not seeing that foreclosure, everybody's hoping for foreclosures and stuff to pop up. There might be some of those happen, but we're not going to see this, crazy amount of inventory just flooding our market. And, as long as, there's, for a long time, builders were slow at, building new inventory and creating new homes, which, put us in a shortage of inventory, which is what caused prices to surge as high as they have, as the demand was so high and the supply wasn't keeping up. And so, while there's definitely more opportunities for buyers to negotiate and get better deals and negotiate their closing costs to be paid, and, do some really creative things right now, when it comes to negotiating and stuff, and homes are sitting on the market longer, but again, not near as long than what they were in 2008. So, while we can make some comparisons and say, yeah, we're in a recession, obviously that's, but, comparing what our real estate market is now and thinking that we're going to end up anywhere like 2008 is not where we want our clients' mindset to be, or, expectation to be, because it's just not, everything that I'm seeing, everything that I know to be true, everything that economists say about what's going to happen with our market. We're not going to see this crazy, crash like we did in 2008. We're just going to see, corrections in pricing that gets us back down to more of a true market value, versus this inflated, we were in a bubble. I mean, definitely we were in a bubble, but the bubble didn't burst. It's just, deflated some, and that's about where we'll end up, is my versus, thinking that we're going to have some sort of crash next year or something. Just doesn't feel like that's at all what we're going to experience. So
Cool.
Hey, JJ, can I share some quick stats really quick?
Yeah, that'd be great. Perfect.
I don't know for any of you who follow Lawrence Yoon, he's the chief economist for NAR, but last Friday he came out with some great statistics that I thought were, in my mind, pretty optimistic. He gave a 2023 prediction, and he predicted sales to decline 7% in terms of number of home sales, but median home prices will actually increase by 1% nationwide. And granted, I think every market is different. It's important to consider our local market here. We had such a drastic increase in prices. I'm guessing we might see a little bit more of a decrease than that 1% increase, but still positive. And then in 2024, he estimated a 10% jump in home sales and a 5% increase in home prices. So to me, that's great information that we can be passing on to our buyers, right? If they're expecting this great drop off, probably not going to happen. Right now is probably one of the best times to buy in terms of availability of inventory and options out there. So, and then in terms of 2008, he also referenced that as well. He says right now we have 2% of the market which is distressed, and 30% was distressed back in 2008. And he says basically short sales are non-existent right now because everyone has a great equity position in their home. And then the last good statistic is we have 3 million more households than we have homes for. And so like Colby mentioned before, there's going to be a continued lack of inventory as we go forward. And I think locally too, we've all seen our builders drastically contract. I don't think anybody started a new home, any of the major builders in 120 days or so. So I think they're being cautious, and I'm optimistic for what's ahead. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's important for all of us to be leading with data, with calmness. I think when we start to get caught up in the emotion, right, it's pretty easy to go there and go to the sky is falling mentality for a lot of people, and an attitude and mindset. I think Colby mentioned just the word mindset there, positive attitude towards the opportunities that we have. Is awesome. So thank you for the stats. Jeff, what are you thinking? Is any additional comments there on why we're not 2008?
Yeah, the only other stat I think that I heard, and I don't know where I got this from, I don't know if it's NAR or what have you, but 2008, I think it was like over 20% of people were upside down their home, and we're like 1.5% right now. So that's a huge factor, right? And then the driving economic background of why we're seeing what we're seeing is totally different, right? It's the loans were bad loans, and now we're dealing with inflation. So there's similarities, but all in all, I'm optimistic. I'm not worried at all. There's actually a saying, it's the market doesn't determine your outcome, it just determines your strategy, right? So we're in a different market. We just got to have a different strategy. We can't think like we did in 2008. It's going to be similar, but it's not the same. So I'm optimistic.
Awesome. Yeah, I heard another loan officer in the coaching company that I've been a part of for the last 4 years. He said, stop saying this is a tough market or this is a bad market. He said, this is just the market. It's always just the market. Yeah. And then to your point, like, how do you react to that? What are your tactics? So Kit, I know you were just at the NAR convention. So Aaron may have stole some of your thunder there with some of the stats, but maybe if you could, shed some light on, other things that they said about what we're going through and differences in, today's market versus, kind of back in the 2008 timeframe.
Well, there's no real aha outside of anything else that's already been said. Jeff said it right. Like we're on a real stable financial equity position for our housing right now. So most of our clientele are sitting in healthy mortgages where they have a lot of equity. So, you know, unless someone purchased within the last year or so and didn't put any money down and needs to sell, we don't need to worry so much about people having to, you know, get rid of distressed property. So I think that that's the massive difference between today's market and the market back in the good old painful days of 08, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have the new construction situation that we had back then. I was heavily involved in new construction back then. And, you know, that we had such an incredible amount of inventory in this. I actually, in 05 was with CBH as their director of sales. And I remember that in February of 05 was our peak. And a lot of people don't realize that we had the highest number of sales ever in company history in February of 05, and it went only downhill from there. But if you look at the statistics, the number of permits that were pulled in the subsequent 2 years were higher and higher and higher than they were in 05. And so we kind of created our own, you know, nightmare of overbuilding at the time. But Aaron's absolutely right. Lawrence Yoon, I am incredibly fortunate to sit on a committee that meets with Lawrence Yoon every single month. And the statistics are looking 1,000 times better than they were 30 to 60 days ago. And he is definitely predicting. I saw that Mark put a comment in the chat that interest rates should start coming down. That is also obviously very good, positive information. The hard part, of course, that we don't know is what's going to happen with the jobs market, as you're hearing with some tech layoffs and so forth. And this market is clearly affected by people from outside of our area. So who knows how that will affect us exactly. But I do believe that this is a completely different marketplace than we saw, you know, 15 years or however many years ago, 14 years ago, whatever it was. And I think that doesn't bother me, like, or concern me. I feel exactly the same way as the other gentleman, that this is just a different world today. I think that what I've noticed, though, one of the hardest things is that we've been in pretty much a seller's market for 10 years. And it's so if you look at the real estate community, there are not probably as many of us have been in the business for 10 years or longer. And so it's a relearn of how you have to operate in a marketplace that's a little bit, you know, more balanced. And I think that is probably nerve-wracking for a lot of agents right now, is that I have to kind of relearn how I do things. But for anyone who is in that role, like, you have such an opportunity. It's going to be super fun for you over the next, you know, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Try something new, different conversations, you know?
For sure. Yeah, it's there's not a dull day or a dull moment in the business right now. I look back at 2020 and 2021. You know, we were having tons of conversations, of course, on the lending side for refinances, and they were very much the same over and over and over again, right? And not a lot of challenge necessarily. I mean, you're definitely, you know, you had to be an advisor to, you know, do the right thing at the right time for folks that were refinancing and buying homes. But today is definitely more of a challenge. You mentioned, you know, cream rising to the crop. You know, definitely on our side of the game here, you're going to see that as well. So it'll definitely be interesting to see who makes it through, and kind of leads into the next question. I think is we'll change up the order as well, but kind of the biggest challenge you guys see for your realtors and realtors in general, and I'd love to give some tactics. You know, what are you talking to your teams and your realtors about tactically to overcome? You know, Kit mentioned, you know, it's a great time to have to relearn. So maybe a tactic of, you know, what's the toughest or biggest challenge, and how are you seeing the best agents, you know, overcome that? So I guess why don't we start with Jeff?
Oh, okay. Man, I'm well known for being simple and stuff. So really, I think the two F's that people think of when stuff like this happens is with the fight and flight, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually the third F, which is people just freeze up, is really what happens. And you notice that in really across the board. So how we're addressing that is just teaching, just kind of communicating, get around the right people with the right mindset, being disciplined. And part of that is just being consistent. I know it kind of sounds simple and not a lot to it, but really consistency in this market. We actually have, I didn't mention before, but one of the biggest things right now is we have a good value added as agents. UJJ offers some great loan products. A lot of there's opportunity out there right now to get seller concessions, to do rate buy downs, which has not been the norm. There's new loan programs coming out. So really we're kind of the gatekeeper for this information we can pass along to the consumer. And now we have an additional value add. So it's just kind of coaching on those things and getting people in the right mindset and being consistent about it.
Awesome. When you say consistent though, what do you mean? Like, what are some of the things that you're saying that they need to be consistent at?
With everything they've been doing, when the market was good, everybody was showing up high-fiving, right? I think across the board, they were consistent on reaching out to the consumer, reaching out to their sphere, their leads, whatever that looks like for them. When people freeze, they take their foot off the gas. Right now, more than ever, you need to just be consistent. Just show up, be consistent. A majority of us know what works, and if not, look to your leaders to figure that out and to get it dialed in for you. But being consistent on just showing up and doing the work. Keep doing what works and be consistent. Don't let the market change your mindset or negative people change your mindset. If that makes sense. Just consistent with the basics, which is showing up and doing the work. And Perfect. You will thrive in this marketplace.
Yes. How about you, Aaron?
I think Jeff brings up a lot of good points. One of the things that I think helps people stay positive is to track your goals, your lead measures, not your lag measures. What that means is you're tracking how many calls you make, how many posts you're doing, and things like that. If you're just tracking closings right now, that can get kind of frustrating. And so in order to win the day, so to speak, or win the week, we're really preaching to our agents to set those goals in terms of actionable items every day, and the results will follow. One of the challenges that we've been issuing to our agents is it's called the 1 hour social media challenge. I mean, we're all on social media, right? But oftentimes it's not productive time and we don't have a real strategy with it. So one of the things we're challenging our agents to do is take 1 hour in the morning and it's broken into 4 15-minute segments. So the first 15 minutes, you're engaging, you're commenting, and you're responding. So it's birthdays and commenting on other people's posts and stuff like that. The second 15 minutes, you're promoting, sharing, and educating, all right? So that's another important factor. So that's your outward facing, things like that. The third 15-minute block, we want you to reach out to clients, have conversations, so message people. And these aren't necessarily real estate related. They're basically staying in contact with your sphere, using social media as that vehicle. And then the last 15 minutes, we want you to be working on creating content, right? We encourage all of our agents to be posting 3 times a week. And I think if you're doing that on social media, you're a lot more effective. And that's one thing you can kind of check off the box to say, I've won the day. You ask for specifics. That's one of the things we're kind of doing. And then contacting your sphere. I've heard a lot of great ideas. A great agent from Rex Frazier, who lives in Salt Lake, he basically broke the alphabet down over the course of the month. And so he would text everybody or call everybody in the A's and then the B's the next day. And he generated a ton of deals. That was back in 08, and saw a lot of activity from that. And I think the other thing I would recommend is if you're struggling to figure out what to do on social media, look to someone who's really good at it. I'd say look at Christina Moore Ward, look at Kelsey Wortman. These people have a great mix of usable content, but also personal life content that really helps solidify what their brand is and actually build a relationship with the person. So, and you're not going to create anything new. So, copying is the highest form of flattery. So I encourage you to, look out there. One of the sayings I always like to use is success leaves clues. And so people who are successful, it's easy to find the clues of what they're doing to where they got there. And so I think that's just another little tidbit that I'd share.
Man, that's awesome. You guys write that stuff down. 15-minute blocks, just don't freeze. Jeff was talking about don't freeze. You got to just take action, take it and break it down into 15-minute blocks for 1 hour, at least that every single day. I have to say Win the Day is one of my favorites. That came from Chip Kelly when he was at the University of Oregon, go Ducks. I have that stamped on my wedges, my golf wedges, and Copy the Best. Been part of a coaching company for 4 years. That's basically what they tell you to do. Do what we're doing. We've proven it. Find people that are doing things that are really working. So awesome stuff, you guys. Colby, how about you?
Yeah, I love just hearing what Jeff and Aaron said so much that I forgot what was the question that you had asked? Because I'm like,
you know, tactics around, there's a lot of challenges right now for real estate agents, and what are some tactics to overcome the challenges?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is anytime there's a changing market, and things are, amidst change, there's a lot of fear that a lot of customers have, both, there's always those challenges that we have to overcome with our clients to help them overcome whatever they're afraid of or whatever their fear is. So, listening, asking really solid questions to our clients, and then just really offering up the best possible advice, regardless of whether it benefits us or not. We need to be offering our clients just really good advice because no matter the market, if we give good advice, they're going to trust us more and more and more and be willing to refer more and more people to us. So, building that trust and that rapport. And then I love what both Aaron and Jeff said about, it's really about surrounding yourself with the right people who can pour into you. I think a lot of us are afraid of, we don't want to be around people that are more successful, maybe because it makes us feel, less than if we're, with other people that are more successful than us, or maybe there's jealousy that sets in or whatever, but you can't have that. If you really truly get to know someone who is successful, most of those successful people are willing to share what they know, and they realize that it's, there's not a secret that someone has up their sleeve that someone else, if I give away my secrets, they're, it's those that are successful usually are very willing to share, and they care. And so, don't be afraid to surround yourself with people that you want to be like, which just goes right back to what Aaron said. You have to, and I know, Jeff does this as well. You have to surround yourself with people that that do the things and have achieved what you want to achieve, and then start emulating what they do. I think you said that, JJ. It's just, that emulation of what those people do. But, biggest challenge right now, if we were to name one biggest challenge, it is the interest rates. I mean, that's the number one thing. So how do we overcome that? Well, I've even seen people say, if rates go down, my clients are going to thank me because they can go back to, get a lower rate and later, but then maybe prices are going to start going up again because as interest, that's what's affecting our prices and the demand is the interest rates. So if they go back down, maybe you can't get as good of a deal as you can or negotiate as good of terms as you can right now on a house. So, getting into a house, reassuring our clients, this isn't 2008. I think that's okay for us all to say, and we're not going to have egg on our face later that this isn't 2008. So if you buy right now, the rug's not going to be pulled out from underneath you and all of a sudden you're going to lose all your equity. Like Aaron said, it's like, there's still a ton of equity out there. We're back down to about where we were last year as far as home prices. It's almost like we gained all this momentum from last November until May or whatever in appreciation, and then we lost all that appreciation, and we're essentially reset to what prices were last year. So anybody that bought maybe at the peak in May maybe doesn't have a whole lot of equity if they tried to sell and paid closing costs, but everyone else out there does. And historically, anyone who's entered into the housing market and purchased, with the exception of 2000, and when you look at what the average sales price was in 2008, when we all thought that was the peak and we just fell off a cliff, we're so much higher today than what prices were in 2008 that anyone that's purchased real estate has built wealth and built equity. So anyone who's afraid to buy is just, it's, we need to help them overcome those fears, and have confidence. And, we need to be willing to portray confidence into our clients that, hey, now is a good time to buy a home. And, if interest rates go down, you're going to just refinance. If rates go up, you're still going to be happy because you got a better rate than what, rates are going to be. So, none of us have a crystal ball. So that's good to just remember, like when people ask us questions, it's okay to not, we don't have to fake like we know exactly what's going to happen with the market. There's really people that are economists that try to predict the market, and none of them are consistently the same. Some think the market's going to go up a little bit over the next 12 months or next year. Some think the market's going to go down a little bit more next year. You average all that together, it's kind of like flatline, like prices aren't going to go up. They're not going to go down. So we're not going to lose equity, may not gain a lot of equity either. So, but still better to own a home than it is to, continue to watch your rents go up, which rents have. If you look at the historical rents just keep going up and up and up. So it's not like rents are going down, but if you own a home, you're going to build wealth and equity, and you're going to have consistency in what your payment is, and not be reliant on, paying off someone else's house, or having, at the end of a lease worrying, how much is my rent going to increase? Well, you don't have to worry about that when you have a mortgage. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, to kind of
Excellent.
piggyback on what you're saying there, Colby, that's actually really good info. I know there was a stat that came out that the average net worth of a tenant is only $7,500, where the average net worth of a homeowner is well over $200,000. So, it's the easiest way or the best way for a consumer or a person to build wealth. So to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Colby, that's good info.
I love that stat.
Excellent.
Yep. Awesome.
Right. Now I'll say best for last, Kit.
I don't. Well, the guy said almost exactly what I was thinking. I think the only other thing that I think is one of the biggest challenges in the market is making sure you get really good at delivering messaging to your clientele, because this is in many cases the first time that the sellers have heard a different story, and if you don't work on perfecting that speech and do it by backing yourself up with all of the data. I mean, I think that's the key, right? If you've got the information and you've got the numbers behind you to really, explain to your buyers and your sellers what the market truly is like at this time. I think that, I think I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was Jeff, who said, something about the fact that we're much more relevant in a lot of consumers' minds right now. And I think we need to take advantage of that. And then the only other thing that I would say is probably the biggest challenge, but so incredibly important, is keeping a great attitude. It's very easy to start blaming the market for your lack of success. And I remember watching that when we had the 2008 period of time. I would go to different meetings with realtors all the time, through the board and so forth. And I was always, I just remember that those that were really successful had very positive, strong things to talk about all the time. And the people who were falling off a cliff were just, all they did is complain about how the market was affecting their business. And I think that, keeping a positive attitude, even if it's hard, is, it's just setting that mindset in the right place, and it's too easy to go down a rabbit hole. It's too easy. And I just think that realtors need to, don't go there if it's hard. It's just different.
Right. Oh man. Yeah. Great stuff. I just had a meeting this morning, and I was basically telling the story. As you guys know, I make a lot of phone calls. I talk to a lot of real estate agents. I mean, you got to be consistent in how you do that and follow up and do those things. But I said, I can tell in the first 15 to 20 seconds of every phone call which real estate agents are going to be successful and those that aren't going to sell a house or help a buyer in the next 6 months. I mean, it's just, it's plain to see for me, or to hear, right? As soon as you ask them, how you doing? How's your weekend? Or, how's, what are you doing to stay busy? And the first things out of their mouth, you can definitely tell if they're going to be the ones that are around, or if they're just going to flounder through the next 6 months and then really be able to get going. So I really loved what Colby was saying there about asking great questions and listening. I think that we have to be armed with the information to be able to calm them down. And the way that you can do that is really hearing what their fears truly are. I am trying to always get better at this, because it's easy to have all those stats just ready to just, throw up all over them. But you got to hear what their true fears are, and then figure out, how do you help them get through that? So that's awesome stuff. And I think kind of leads in, we've kind of hit on it a little bit, but a couple of the last questions, got about 15 minutes left. If anyone has any questions that we haven't answered, any stumpers, please throw them in the chat, and I'll try and get to looking at them. So but we kind of were leading into this. Well, we have a lot of buyers that are waiting for the crash, right? And I think Colby mentioned, and maybe in kind of all four of you, this idea of, okay, well, our builders have really kind of maybe not stopped building, but they're trying to get their current inventory sold, and maybe just finishing the houses that they had already gotten permitted or already had going. And that we're going to see in maybe this is an opinion, but we're going to see this rates come down. I mean, everyone's predicting NAR, Fannie Mae, everyone's predicting that rates will be down at some point in 2023. We don't know exactly when that's going to be. The crystal balls are all smashed, right? But when we see rates come down and we see lack of inventory being built, especially in our valley here, I mean, we need more inventory for the amount of households that are coming here, want to come here still. Maybe they put it on pause in the early 2022, and they're like, well, maybe we'll just see what happens. But I guess maybe just speak to that lack of inventory. Any additional comments on if rates do come down, we're going to maybe be back in that kind of 2021 mode where it's tough to get an offer accepted, and any additional comments on that? Maybe we'll start with Aaron this time.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. Reading Daniela's question, how are you advising sellers right now? Lower price, take off market until spring, stay put and wait? I know there isn't a right or wrong answer at the moment. Just curious how you're talking to your clients. That's
yeah. If you've got comments on that, go for it.
I don't work with buyers or sellers, but if I did, I think that's I think a lot of it's centered around education. And educating sellers what a realistic time frame is to sell a home. I heard a statistic that the average home is off the market now within 45 days. And so, our sellers, in my opinion, are still accustomed to having the property sold within, 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever that may be. And so I think if I'm speaking to everyone as a group, I believe we should all put on our educator hat and get the messaging out of what the market is and what reality is, right? Because 22 years ago when I got my license, it wasn't unusual to have the home sit on the market for 90 or 120 days. You didn't panic until then. And so I think kind of collectively as a whole, if we are conveying the same messaging and kind of realigning expectations, that's a great thing. So that would be my advice to the seller is just be patient, right? The market will bear what the market would bear. I mean, certainly look at price to see if you're out of the market. But I'm hearing a lot of people, yeah, we're the lowest in the subdivision. No need to lower your price. It's just a matter of finding the right buyer for that property, and it could take 90 or 120 days. So, any other thoughts from the other panel members? Am I off in left field?
No, yeah, you're totally. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Colby. Sorry.
No, you were on a roll. I'll remember mine. Go ahead. I want to let you go.
No, I was just going to say that, yeah, it's just, I mean, we're just coaching on just change the expectation, right? The market's changed, so expectations need to change. I mean, it's always a good time to sell. It's always a good time to buy. It just depends on your seat of where you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Right now that, people's expectations were set from this crazy era where, if your home was on the market one day with no offer, really, even as agents, we were kind of panicked of where we're at. Obviously, you don't want to miss the buck on the pricing. So up to date on what's going on in that subdivision or what in that, area is important. But really we're just coaching on just changing the expectation for the seller. Are you up, Colby?
Yeah, so I think it's just good to, what is the motivation? What is the seller's motivation and why they're selling? And if it's a reason that is due to all these, maybe they just don't have realistic expectations of what to consider the market is doing right now. I think a lot of people that say they want to wait till spring are thinking they're going to get a better price in spring. And, if they're motivated to sell, and, I always said this too, if they're going to sell and buy, at the same time, who cares what prices are doing? If you take a little bit less, because we're in that typical seasonal winter, you're also going to get a better deal when you buy your house too. And so, but really, what is that person's motivation? Why are they moving? And if the reason they're frustrated or wanting to take their house off the market is because they're just frustrated they haven't got an offer after 2 months, then it's good to have those conversations and say, for one, a lot of homes that have been dropped in price once over the lifetime of the listing, they're selling right now on average for about 11% less than what the original asking price was for that home, because they priced them with older comps. And, I ran some numbers and reports that said, 11% less is what a lot of homes are selling for that have dropped in price. So, using that as a realistic number to go off of, like, how far off are we from what we originally priced your home at? Do we need to look at another price reduction? Sellers that are thinking about listing right now, we should be looking at pricing their home correctly to begin with, and not go far back on comps and just use what's relevant to now and saying, hey, we should list conservatively so we don't have to chase, and luckily we're not chasing the market down. So I don't feel like we are like we were these last several months. It was like, okay, where do we need to price it to get ahead of the market correction? Well, I think now we've got a lot more predictability. We have comps to go off of. We're more stable than we were. Rates are not going up at such a rapid rate, and that's going to impact affordability like it has been in the past when rates went up from so drastically. It's like people blink and they can no longer afford the same price point of house as they would yesterday. So I think there's a lot of those things that there's a lot more predictability in the market, and we just need to be having those conversations with our clients to give them realistic expectations instead of just thinking, yeah, if I pull it off now and I relist in spring, I'm going to get a way better price or a better outcome or lesser, and that may not be the case. So it's just, really just seeking out what their motivations are and why they're thinking about waiting to sell versus going ahead and going for it now. And, some people really have life changes in their life that cause them to need to move. And those are things to, take into consideration versus just expecting a better outcome later.
Excellent. Kit, anything to add?
About that question or the first question? What do you want me to talk about? You tell me.
I think you can go either way. I had another question that might be good to just kind of pivot a little bit here. One of our title and escrow contacts that we love, Justin, he asked, does anyone notice any bad habits form due to the chaos of the market in the last few years? Service levels, response times, and how do we not? I'll add to that, I guess. How do we, coach our agents, or how are you talking to agents about not being that?
Yeah. I think that's a really great question. One of the biggest downfalls to our industry is we're an industry of copycatting. We see information come across a contract and we think that whoever sent us that contract totally knows how to do it right. And then we start doing it. And so, my number one best advice to please go to training with your brokers. That's probably just the massive broker hat on, but I cannot stress enough how important it is to listen to the brokerage and what the brokerage wants an agent to do, because every broker is going to have a slightly different opinion about how something has to happen, but your liability lies with that brokerage. And so this is it's always an important time to stay educated, but you know, our industry, unfortunately, is made up of independent contractors, and it is very easy to not take the time to get better. And this, if nothing else, is the time to do so, because the bad behavior, Justin, like you said, there was a lot of bad behavior when the market was crazy. And we have to always remember, at the end of the day, our duty is to the consumer. The duty is to the consumer. It's, you know, I tell my agents all the time, don't chase a paycheck, especially when we see an industry, you know, when things are a little tighter like they are now. People do stupid things, and that this isn't the time. We cannot control what it is that our consumer wants to do in terms of when they want to buy or when they want to sell. And that's when bad habits start to take place. And I think that, you know, ask the question. If you have a question, ask your broker how you should write something, how you should respond to a client. And I hope that as we move forward, that the level of service is stepped up. As I mentioned earlier, professionalism for me is probably the number one most important thing in my world. And we as realtors are here to follow a code of ethics. We are here to do the right thing. We are here to take care of our consumers, even when it's incredibly hard. And we shouldn't be promising things that we can't deliver. And we sure shouldn't be copying other people's language and contracts. So I guess, you know, for me, that's probably one of the biggest deals is, yeah, just because you see someone else do it doesn't mean you should. Ask the question. I'm sure that these other brokers here would probably say the same thing. Ask the question if you have concerns. Don't copy.
Totally. Awesome. I loved you just said it's the time to get better, right? We do have a little bit more time on our hands. We have time to have, you know, better and longer and deeper conversations with people, whether that's, you know, our buyers, our sellers, our lending partners. I mean, lean on your lenders, you guys, because we're here to help. There's a lot of great lenders out there. They're here to help. They're here to be creative and figure out ways to get people into homes. We've talked till we're blue in the face about seller interest rate buy downs, whether that's temporary buy downs or permanent interest rate buy downs. These things work, but it's really hard to educate people in bulk, in mass, right? They don't get it right off the bat. So we have to do it one to one to one to one. And if we all are doing it and you're getting educated by your lender on exactly how it works, and then going out there and talking to your sellers and your buyers about why it can be a win-win. We're in a more balanced market now. And if you have, you know, those lending partners that are strong, which all of you should, then reach out to them and see how you can work together to make it a win-win for buyer, seller, and get people into homes. So it's time to get better. I love that. Thanks, Kit. Well, we're down to the last just couple minutes here. I think that, you know, maybe just a minute or two on just kind of closing comments, if you have anything extra to add. I'll just say, man, I'm blown away by the amount of agents that have jumped on. It really says a lot about our community. I feel that it's not just one brokerage. We're all here working together to make sure that we're having success. We're seeing that the right people make it through, and those that are educating and jumping on to panels like this, there's others doing them. Get on, educate yourself. But thank you so much for each being here. But I don't know, Colby, do you have just a couple of closing comments? We've got about 5 minutes left, so about a minute each.
Sure. Yeah, I think you know, mindset is something that I've talked to a lot of agents about, because it's easy to think, oh, there's fewer sales out there to go get, and you know, my business is going to slow down because the market's slower and there's fewer sales, but still a lot of agents or whatever out there to, you know, it's like, you know, the getting up and focusing and working each day, having a vision of what you, like when you accomplish your goals, what do you want to do? What's your vision? What's your, you know, what, you know, everybody, what motivates you, and have your vision where you can, clearly see and map out. And, we don't have to conquer the world overnight. So, it's like a lot of these things that we think we have to go do, we can do, gradually, and not have to go out and just, snap our fingers and achieve it tomorrow, but just do the small things each day and just do something. I think the successful agents out there, they're always figuring things out, mapping things out. They have a plan, they have time blocked. I heard a lot of the brokers say time blocking their activities, and connecting with your sphere of influence, because in this market, the more you're in front of them, the more you're educating, the more information you're sharing with the people that the more you're going to be top of mind to them. So especially right now, where it's really easy to go out and become that type of mind person, because everybody wants to know what's happening in the market, and you can be that resource they turn to if you effectively take everything that you heard today from all the brokers and just go out and start sharing it with those that and so just being a resource and having a good mindset, because you can have a growth mindset or you can have a fixed mindset. I think all the successful people out there have a growth mindset. If your mindset's I'm going to fail, or I'm going to do less, or my production is going to slow down, or I'm not going to make enough money to stay in the industry, or if you start telling yourself all these negative thoughts, you're probably going to have negative results. Whereas if you really focus on the positive and become a top producer before you actually are one. I know Jeff, I've known Jeff Sweet for a long time, and the minute that his mindset was, I'm going to, do these things and accomplish these things, it's like, they start happening. You start manifesting those thoughts. So become who you want to be before you actually are that person. Start, believing that about yourself before you actually have achieved it. So.
Oh, write that down, everybody. That's so awesome. How about you, Aaron? Closing thoughts?
I heard an interesting statistic or prediction that 25 to 30% of the agents currently would have their license inactive by the end of next year. And that can either be perceived as a oh no, or a great opportunity, right? That means that, you'll have 3 less voices competing with yours. And so in my mind, it comes down to he or she who can have the most conversations wins, And so if you're intentional about what you're doing in terms of your business, I see it as a great opportunity to really take advantage of that opportunity in this market. So I think it's exciting where we're at, and just appreciate you, JJ, and all those who have participated. And certainly the 100+ agents who have joined us, they're going to be in the business, right? Those people who care about their business, to learn more, to get educated, to change their mindset, certainly are the leaders of our industry, and kind of set the tone and example for everybody else. So pretty cool.
Oh, great. All right, we're down to just a minute here. How about you, Jeff?
I would just leave it with maybe just a tip. I was at a conference just recently, and I think I read it also on CNBC that people that bought during the pandemic were 70% of them had at least one complaint about their home, because they had to get in quickly. So for everybody that sold a home during that time, I would strongly recommend stay in touch with those people, because they're predicting that these are going to be low-hanging fruit for the foreseeable future, on the ones that are going to be the first to want to sell and move to something more comfortable. So other than that, Colby hit it around the head, so did Aaron, so did Kit. I mean, just good mindset and stay positive and keep at it.
Cool. All right, Kit. Wrap it up.
Well, thanks. Thanks again for having me, JJ. I think it's a testament to you as well to get this many people on a Zoom call. So kudos to you on that. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot more other than probably my core philosophy is staying disciplined. This is a sales job. You have to remember it's a sales job, and the only way to be successful in sales is to be disciplined, whether you want to hear it or not. And so, I think that's great. And then probably most importantly, I am a big fan of being kind in our industry. Someone else said it, a number of people did in the chat, about the fact that we do work together. We are each other's clients in a lot of ways as well. And I would love to see some of that kindness come back. We lost a little bit of it over the last few years, and I think it's important. So that's it. But thanks
Awesome.
again, JJ.
Awesome.
Well, you guys, thanks so much. This is it's been so great. Thank you, Kit, for the comments there about getting all these folks on the Zoom today. It's I do love the mantra, work hard, be kind, spread the love out there. It's Thanksgiving next week. It's Thanksgiving every day. Really be grateful for what we have and continue to work with each other. And just one last thing, there is another webinar starting right now. If you don't have the information for it, it's our CEO is going to be talking about how to talk with your builders about doing forward lock commitments. So there was a question in the chat, so I figured I'd just share that. I'm going to jump on it, but everyone has my email address, so just email me if you need the info, and you can jump on that as well. But thanks so much for being here, you guys. If you have any questions for myself or for any of the panelists, feel free to send them to me, and I can forward them along. So have a great day, and really appreciate you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank
See ya.
you.